Anti-Fascist. A rant is incoming. Anti-Fascist. So, basically when this all kicked off, the whole COVID thing and all kind of stuff, I got really disenfranchised with capitalism. I was a capitalist all my life. I didn't understand it really. And I think most capitalists don't know they don't understand capitalism. They mistake it for the free market. And the free market ain't capitalism. Capitalism is government-protected businesses, monopolized things like money, land, rent, tariff, tax. Monopoly. Capitalism is monopoly. It's lending you something, lending you the use of something. Usury. It's a usury politics. It's usury. You never buy the thing that you're paying for. You pay for it, and then you pay the extra on top. You pay for the use of money. You pay for the use of land. You pay for the use of a factory. And the capitalists are the guys who suck all that up. That ain't a free market. The free market illusion comes from the illusion itself. You know, it's a monopolized system that we're in. It would be a free market if we had free money and free land, and we could just dig and get stuff out of the ground, but it's not. So anyway, I discovered all this when I got disenfranchised with capitalism. Now, I didn't like communism either, because I started looking into that, and Marx was talking about, he was saying a lot of stuff that made sense, but then he said we need to gather all the power into a giant solid superstate, a one state who controls everything, and you control jack shit. And eventually, that super powerful state will just slip away, and all the power will go back to the people. Sure it will, Marx. Sure. If there's one thing everybody knows about super powerful states, is that they will eventually let go of the power. Oh, bollocks. So I didn't get into Marxism either, because that was obvious that would never happen. And all the people who say that communism has never been tried, technically they're right. If you go by the book of the book, if you go by the Communist Manifesto, technically they're right, because they've never got to the end goal. They've never got to the moon, essentially. They've just spent all the time stalling, making the rocket. Communists stick at the government point. And personally, I think that's what it was designed for. A lure to get all the power into the hands of the government. But technically, they've never got past that. So technically, it hasn't been tried. So I understand when people say that. So what does that leave? What does that leave with us? It left the whole new philosophy, anarchism. That can't be an anarchist. That's bloody the Joker. That's purge anarchy. That's V for Vendetta. I've heard the word anarchy all my life. It always means chaos. Until I discovered real anarchy. No rulers. Monarchy, oligarchy, one ruler, many rulers. Anarchy, no rulers. Like an atheist. You don't have a theist. You don't have a theum. We can rule ourselves. We can be free. We can freely contract. We can ask. We can work in workers' associations. We can have the ground that we live on, the land, and all kind of stuff. We can do what we want. We don't need people telling us what to do, ruling us. Essentially, there's still rules. There's still the moral law. There's still the law of humanity, God's law, whatever you want to call it. Natural law. Natural law is the main one I would call it. It doesn't have to apply to anything, like a god or anything like that. Just a natural law, just a basic human natural law, morality. You don't need anything else. You don't need legislation. So, here's where anti-fascists and real anarchists, like me, differ. They want to be able to silence free speech. And they're against bodily autonomy. When I brought up the COVID lockdown resistance, the rebellions, because I was trying to find them at the time. This is when I bumped into ANTIFA, and this is when I kind of mingled in their cafes and stuff. I brought up, what do you think of the anti-lockdown protests going on in London right now? And so I couldn't believe the response, because you would think anarchists would be all for that. No. His answer was, it's pro-Trump and anti-trans. What? Being against the government totalitarian lockdowns is anti-trans? Anti-trans? And pro-Trump? Pro-Trump locked everyone down. He's the father of the vaccine. What the hell was this? What was he saying? So, looked on the anarchist website, the local anarchist website, and discovered they're not anarchists. The Antifa and Antifa aren't anarchists. The authoritarians. When you go there, they've got this whole, if they're woke, they've got the whole woke thing going on. They insist that if they say, if I told you that I was Sarah and I'm a woman, Antifa would say, you have to call me she. That's not libertarian. That's not free speech. That's authoritarian. And what happens if I don't do it? Off I go. Out I go. Thank God these guys aren't running a country, or I'd be in the gulag. What's the difference? Being kicked out of their commune and being kicked out of the country. It's the same mentality. I should be able to have that freedom to not lie, you know? So you hear them closing down protests, you hear them trying to do counter-protests, and I was watching them, because I was a little bit heartbroken in all honesty to hear that the local anarchists were so authoritarian. I didn't like that. And then I discovered the real anarchists. There was the freedom movement. And they don't call themselves anarchists, by the way, but they are, really. They just haven't realised yet. But these, Antifa would, for some reason, Antifa would brand us anti-Semite, pro-homophobe, or whatever, all the brands. They would put all the brands on us and try to close us down. They would try to counter-protest us. They would say all sorts of shit. You know, they would just brand us with awful shit. And it was like, we're the real libertarians. We're the ones saying you should have bodily autonomy, that I can choose if I wear a vaccine or a mask. We're the ones who's saying we should be able to talk about this, you know? And they're trying to shut us down. And they call us anti-Semites, and we're not even bringing up Jewish shit. What are they doing? What are these so-called anarchists doing? I'll tell you what they're doing. They want everybody to be fucking Zim, Zerk, Sim, Zim. They are obsessed with the woke message. They're obsessed with transgenderism. At a time when there's so much totalitarianism going on, the so-called libertarian anarchists are nothing but woke, transgender-driven maniacs. Holy shit. They're anything but anarchists. And I think they were invented to delegitimize anarchy and anarchists when people would naturally be finding it. I wasn't an anarchist ever in my entire life. And I discovered it because of the COVID lockdowns, because of the totalitarian that's going on here. I went, oh shit, that's a philosophy. That's actually an ideology I can get behind, and it works. There's the truth. But I would never have thought that if I only ever looked at Antifa. I only ever looked at the blue hair and the furries and the bloody fucking overly sexualized stuff all the time and screaming, I'd have never gone into anarchy if I just looked at those guys. And I think that's their purpose. Everybody's going to be looking towards anarchy now. It's the only valid choice. When you look at capitalism, you realize how parasitic it is. You realize how monopolized it is. And you go, wow, shit, this isn't a free market. You know what is a free market? Anarchism. Mutualism. Even to a degree, even the ANCAPs. But I'd be amazed who would protect the capitalist ventures without the state. That's where the ANCAPs fail. If they were just talking about a free market, fine. But don't call it capitalism, because capitalism has government protection and monopoly of land and tax and tariffs and the money supply. Without a state, who's going to protect that? Your own. And if you're going to make your own state to do it, great. Just leave me alone. That'd be a free market again, though, wouldn't it? So yeah, that was my little shot at Antifa. I was almost a bit heartbroken when I discovered the local guys were so obsessed with wokeism. And kind of pro-lockdown. They were all wearing the masks. They all had the 6-foot shit on the floor. So yeah, I'd have a stab at them. That's about enough, I think.